Autumn smelled different in the new town. There were more maples here, and the leaves carpeted the asphalt in thick red-golden layers. The air scratched the throat with its coldness. Thomas drove the car, while Lisa reminded the kids for the 100th time to stop bickering in the back seat. "Sam, stop teasing your sister," she said, turning around. "Amy's already in a bad mood." Amy rolled her eyes. "Mom, I'm not a little kid, and this Halloween is going to be lame. Back in our old town, people had real parties. Here it's just—" She gestured at the neat houses with plastic spiders and pumpkins on the porches. "We should give this place a chance," Thomas said, calmly. "Besides, Lisa bought tons of candy. It'll be fun." Sam pressed his face to the window and gasped. "Look! They've got a real skeleton in the yard, and ghosts in the tree!" The houses were decorated as if the entire neighborhood was competing. Glowing pumpkins, witches on brooms, giant inflatable spiders. Even in daylight, it looked impressive. At night, it would be even better. Their own house looked modest, a couple of jack-o'-lanterns and paper bats on the porch. Lisa promised next year they'd do more. "The atmosphere's what matters," she said, plugging in a string of tiny skull lights. The kids dressed up. Amy put on a witch's costume, half-heartedly, just for appearances. Sam was a superhero with a cape and shining mask. When it grew dark, the street came alive. Shrieks, laughter, ringing doorbells, endless cries of "Trick or treat!" Lisa nudged the kids forward. "Go on, just stick together." Thomas stood on the porch, watching. He liked how safe it all seemed, like something out of a movie. But then he noticed something further down the street, beyond the lamps, a figure watching. Tall, thin, with something round on its head. He blinked. The figure was gone. Twilight in the suburb looked magical. Kids rushed from door to door, their buckets jingling with candy. Sam held Amy's hand at first, though she complained he was too old for that. At the first house he broke free, shouting, "Trick or treat!" House after house, their bags filled quickly. Amy even laughed when a boy in a clown mask jumped out of the bushes. Then they reached the house on the corner. It stood out. No decorations, only 2 huge pumpkins by the gate, their candles dim, nearly burned out. Sam slowed. "Maybe we shouldn't—" "Don't be silly," Amy said. "Look, the door's open." On the porch sat a man, tall, thin, his face hidden under a hood. His eyes glimmered faintly in the streetlight. In front of him was a bowl. "Trick or treat," Amy mumbled. The man reached in, but instead of candy, he pulled out a mask, a pumpkin mask, with a carved grin too sharp, eyes too round and hollow. "It's for you," he said, handing it to Sam. Sam hesitated. "But I wanted candy." "This is better," the man replied. "It will make you special." Amy grabbed her brother's arm. "Let's go. We've got plenty of candy." But Sam couldn't look away. The mask seemed to breathe. The strap trembled, as if someone was tugging it. "Take it," the man repeated, and Sam reached out. It was heavy. Not plastic, not rubber, hard, rough, like dried skin. As they walked away, Amy hissed, "Why'd you do that? It's gross!" Sam clutched it tighter. "She said I'm special now." "Who's she?" Sam blinked, confused. I don't know." But he held the mask close, like he was afraid someone would take it.
When they got home, their buckets were overflowing. Amy dumped hers on the shelf and immediately complained. "Mom, Dad, that creepy guy on the corner is giving out junk instead of candy. He gave Sam some mask." Thomas frowned. "What mask?" Sam reluctantly showed it. The grin was mocking, the surface rough, unnatural. Lisa touched it and quickly pulled her hand back. "It's cold." "Leave it," Thomas said firmly. "Just don't wear it." Sam nodded, but his eyes never left it. Later, when the house was quiet, Thomas noticed it was too quiet. He went upstairs and saw Sam's door ajar. Inside, Sam was pulling the mask over his face. "Sam!" Thomas shouted. The mask fit perfectly, too perfectly. Sam's eyes disappeared in black hollows. The jagged grin seemed alive. "Take it off," Thomas demanded. Sam turned slowly. His voice was wrong, deeper. "She doesn't want me to." "Who doesn't?" The mask twitched. Then Sam ripped it off himself, gasping like he'd surfaced from water. "Dad, she was talking to me." Thomas shoved it into a drawer. "Tomorrow, it's gone." But that night, he woke to footsteps. The drawer was open, empty. Downstairs, in the dark, 2 hollow eye holes gleamed. Sam stood in the living room, in the mask. His movements weren't his, too slow, too deliberate. His head cocked to the side like a predator. His small hands dangled strangely at his sides, fingers twitching as if pulled by strings. "Sam," Thomas said softly, "take it off, now." "We're playing," came the deep, wrong voice. "Want to play too?" Thomas's skin crawled. The way Sam's head tilted, the way his body swayed, it wasn't his boy. It was something wearing him. Thomas lunged, yanked the mask. It clung like skin. Sam screamed in 2 voices at once, one high, frightened, the other low and guttural. Finally, it tore free and fell. It hit the floor with a hollow clunk, like bone. The sound echoed through the house unnaturally long. Sam collapsed, sobbing. "She said if I wear it again, I'll never be alone." Thomas knelt, holding his son tight. "You'll never be alone anyway. You have us. Do you hear me? You don't need her." But Sam didn't answer, his gaze already searching for the mask. Later, Thomas shoved it in the back of the closet and locked the door. But in the morning, it was back on Sam's shelf. That evening, Amy burst in. "He's playing with someone!" They rushed upstairs. Sam sat on the rug with Lego, the mask beside him. "Your turn," he said. One Lego figure moved by itself. The others toppled as if swatted by invisible hands. Amy gasped, and Sam looked up with a smile that wasn't his own. The next night, Thomas set up a chair outside Sam's door. He forced himself to stay awake, but near dawn he dozed. A low whisper pulled him back. He peeked in. Sam sat cross-legged, the mask on his lap, whispering to it like a friend. "Do you hear me?" Sam asked softly. "Will you promise?"
The mask didn't move, but Thomas felt an answer in the room, heavy as air before a storm. He barged in, grabbed the mask, and locked it in the attic. At breakfast, Sam's eyes were dark. "You shouldn't have done that, Dad," he said flatly. "She doesn't like being far away." That evening, the family heard rattling upstairs. When they opened the attic, the mask was gone. Sam was in his room, sitting quietly, and the mask lay beside him, grinning wide. That night, Amy lay awake listening. At first, it was only her brother's whispering. Then another voice answered, faint, wet, and rasping. She pulled her blanket to her chin and prayed morning would come.
Lisa insisted on meeting neighbors. She believed that if they felt like part of the community, everything would seem safer. They visited Mrs. Ellis, whose yard was crammed with inflatable witches and glowing spiders. Over tea, Thomas finally asked about the corner house. Her face paled instantly. No one's lived there in 10 years. "But we saw a man," Thomas pressed. "He gave Sam this." Sam reluctantly showed the mask. Mrs. Ellis recoiled, nearly dropping her cup. "Oh, God!" She whispered, "My father told me old stories. Masks like these were once meant to hide children from spirits on Halloween. But then they stopped protecting. They started taking." Sam hugged it tighter. "She's mine." The light bulb above them flickered. A spoon rattled off its saucer. Mrs. Ellis's eyes welled with tears. "It's happening again," she murmured. As they left, Mrs. Ellis clutched Thomas's sleeve and said, "If you want to save your children, burn it, quickly." Outside, Lisa turned on Thomas. "Why would you bring it with us? You saw her face." "I wanted answers," he said. "Now we know what it is." Amy crossed her arms, glaring. "No, Dad. Now we only know it's worse than we thought." That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. Every creak of the house made him jump. Out the window, he swore he saw small shadows moving between the hedges, too short to be adults, too stiff to be children. The next day, Thomas returned to Mrs. Ellis alone. She met him on her porch, eyes darting nervously. "My grandmother told me the truth about Robert Davis. He carved those masks, but not just from wood. She swore he mixed other things in, pieces of the missing children. No one ever proved it, but after the third child vanished, people stopped trusting him." Thomas's stomach churned. "And what happened to him?" Mrs. Ellis's voice shook. "They found him dead in that house. No wounds, just his face was gone, as if something else wore it." She pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, "And when they tried to bury him, the earth pushed the coffin back up. They had to burn him instead, but the masks remained." Thomas staggered back, bile rising in his throat. That night, Thomas told Lisa only part of it. She trembled, whispering, "We have to leave." But upstairs, Sam's voice rang out, clear and cheerful for the first time in days. "She says we can't. She says it's already home." The house groaned then, timbers shifting, as though agreeing with him. That night, Thomas carried the mask down to the basement. His hands trembled so badly the metal bucket clanged on the floor. He set the mask inside, its grin flashing in the dim light, and poured gasoline over it until the air burned his throat. Lisa stood at the top of the stairs, pale as chalk. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Absolutely," Thomas said, though his voice cracked. "This ends now." He struck a match. The flame wavered, then fell. Gasoline roared to life. The mask was engulfed instantly. But the smell was wrong. Not burning fabric, not melting plastic. It was meat. Burned, putrid, foul. Upstairs, Sam screamed so loud the pipes shook.
"Stop! She doesn't want that! You'll make her angry!" The mask writhed in the flames. Its hollow eyes glowed bright orange, teeth seeming to lengthen. Then it screamed, a shriek of dozens of children's voices, overlapping, piercing. The basement wall shook, dust raining from the beams. Lisa covered her ears, sobbing. Thomas forced himself to stay put. But then the flames snuffed out, like a breath had blown them away. Silence rushed in. The mask sat at the bottom of the bucket, blackened but whole, its grin wider, teeth sharper. Thomas lifted it with tongs. Ice cold, not a scorch mark. "She said you can't." Sam's voice drifted down. He stood on the stairs, his eyes glowing faintly. "She's with me now." That night Sam refused to sleep. He sat by his window, clutching the mask to his chest, whispering like to a beloved pet. His words were soft, but endless, like a chant. Amy awoke hearing him. She crept to his doorway. Sam gazed out at the moon, mask in his lap. But in the window's reflection, the mask was already on his face, its hollow eyes staring directly at her. Amy gasped and slammed her door. She pulled the blanket over her head and prayed for morning. The next day, Lisa suggested taking Sam to a doctor. Thomas shook his head. "A doctor can't fix this." Lisa snapped back, "Then what can, Thomas? What can?" But he had no answer. Upstairs, Sam giggled softly, a sound too cold for a child.
By morning, Sam seemed normal again, almost. He poured milk on his cereal, but never lifted the spoon. He just stared into the bowl until the flakes turned to mush. "I'm not hungry," he muttered. His voice was quiet, but carried an echo, as though something else whispered along with him. Lisa pushed the bowl closer. "Sam, sweetheart, please eat." He looked up slowly. His lips stretched into a grin too wide for his face. "She feeds me." The family froze. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence. Then Sam stood, the chair scraping across the floor. He left the room without another word, his steps oddly deliberate, like someone was guiding him. That afternoon, Thomas searched Sam's room. Under the bed, he found bundles of strange objects, knotted string, stones tied with wire, clumps of dried plants, tiny charms, brute but purposeful. He brought them downstairs and dropped them on the table. "Look at this. He's making things." Sam appeared in the doorway, his expression blank. "She told me to, therefore the game." His pupils glowed faintly in the dim light. Thomas shoved the charms into the garbage outside. But later that night, he heard scraping metal. He rushed out and found Sam, barefoot in the freezing yard, digging through the trash. The boy's lips moved quickly, muttering instructions as he retrieved each charm. His fingers bled from the cold, but he didn't seem to notice. Amy woke past midnight. Her lamp flickered. She rolled over and nearly screamed. Sam stood beside her bed. The mask covered his face. He leaned close, breath cold against her cheek. "She says you're next," he whispered. Amy's scream tore through the house. Thomas and Lisa burst in, but when the light flicked on, Sam was sitting calmly on the floor, mask in his lap. His eyes were wide, innocent. "What's wrong?" he asked softly. But Amy pointed with a trembling finger. The mask's grin gleamed wet in the lamplight, as though it had just fed. The next morning, Amy refused to leave her room. "He's not Sam anymore," she whispered to Lisa. "He's letting her in." She tried to soothe her, but even she could feel it, a heaviness in the house, as if every wall was listening. And from upstairs, Sam sang a lullaby no one had taught him, each note low, strange, and older than any child should know.
By day, the corner house looked deserted, but Thomas knew better. The rest of the neighborhood buzzed with post-Halloween routines, neighbors dragging down plastic skeletons, kids crunching candy wrappers underfoot. Yet that house sat like a scar at the edge of the street. Its shutters hung crooked, paint peeled in long strips, and even the birds avoided its roof. Thomas lied to Lisa, saying he needed to buy light bulbs. Instead, he walked straight to the corner lot. The gate swung open under his hand, though the air was still. On the porch lay brittle pumpkin seeds, scattered in a neat line, as if arranged deliberately. Inside, the air reeked of mildew, dust, and something sharper, dried herbs and old copper. Dust coated everything, yet clear trails cut through it, small footprints, bare like a child's, and other marks, heavier, round, as though something had been dragged across the floor. In the living room, 5 nails jutted from the wall. 3 held crude orange masks. 2 nails were empty. Thomas's chest tightened. The etchings on the mask's surfaces matched Sam's, curling vine-like lines, twisted and unnatural. But these masks seemed more weathered, as if they had aged with the house itself. On a warped table lay a folder of yellowed papers. Thomas's hands shook as he flipped it open. Newspaper clippings, photographs, and handwritten notes spilled out. October 31, 1979. Girl missing. Last seen in pumpkin costume. October 31, 1991. Boy missing, wearing a skeleton mask. October 31, 2003. Another child gone. The last clipping was stained, the print blurred. Local carpenter Robert Davis found. The rest of the line was obscured by a brown, rust-colored ring. You shouldn't be here. Thomas spun. A man stood in the doorway. Martin, the handyman from a nearby street. His face was gray, lined, his eyes hollow. No one lives here, Martin said. Not anymore. Davis carved those masks, said they kept children safe, but after the 3rd one vanished, people stopped listening. He stayed in this house alone. But I saw someone, Thomas insisted. A man gave my son this mask. Martin's jaw tightened. It's Halloween. The house shows what it wants, or who it wants. It calls, and if you answer, you don't come back the same. A floorboard groaned, though neither man had moved. A shadow stretched across the room, long and round-headed, like a child with a pumpkin skull. Thomas's stomach flipped. He blinked, and it vanished. Take your boy far from here, Martin said, backing into the doorway. When the seeds rot, the call always comes. Always. That night, Lisa scrubbed dishes furiously while Amy pressed her face to the window. He's talking to it again, she whispered. Outside, Sam sat on the porch steps, mask beside him. His lips moved in steady rhythm, like prayer.
Sometimes he tilted his head, pausing, as though listening to replies. Thomas forced himself outside. "Sam! Inside! Now!" The boy looked up. His pupils shimmered with a dull orange glow, though no lamp shone nearby. He cradled the mask as though it were fragile glass. He said to wait, not yet, when the seeds turned black. He followed his gaze. Near the steps, pumpkin seeds glistened in the soil, already sprouting tiny dark shoots. Not green, but black. He felt something churn in his gut, colder than fear. Inevitability. Thomas knew running wouldn't help. The house had chosen them. "We ended in that house," he said. His voice was raw, but steady. They prepared at dusk. Thomas carried a can of gasoline and his old axe. Lisa clutched her mother's silver cross and a Bible, her knuckles white. Amy, pale but determined, carried a recorder. "If it speaks, I want proof," she whispered. Sam came willingly, the mask tucked under his arm as though it were a toy. His face was calm, almost serene. "She's waiting," he murmured. The corner house opened without resistance. The front door groaned wide, no lock, no chains, as if welcoming them. The air inside was thicker, colder, carrying the tang of rot. The masks on the walls had multiplied. Every nail was filled now, each mask carved with hollow eyes that seemed to follow them. Their mouths stretched open, breathing faintly like lungs. The floor vibrated. A low drone rose from beneath, swelling into words. "Bring, gift, replace." Lisa clutched her cross to her chest, whispering prayers. Amy clicked the recorder on, the red light blinking like a warning. Thomas splashed gasoline across the warped boards. He raised the axe. Sam suddenly shoved the mask onto his face. It latched instantly, sinking into his skin. His eyes flared orange, his grin widened beyond human limits. "Now I'm room," the thing inside him said. The floor cracked open. A flood of orange light burst upward. Shadows clawed out, tall and writhing. The mask screamed in children's voices, shrill and overlapping. Amy dropped the recorder, but it kept rolling, capturing the chaos. Thomas swung the axe, smashing a mask from the wall. Splinters flew. The shrieking stopped, only for that mask. The others screamed louder, furious. Lisa lifted the cross, her voice rising to a scream as she prayed. The shadows recoiled, writhing like smoke in a gale. Sam struggled, jerking violently. For a moment his true voice broke through. "Dad, help me!" Thomas grabbed his son, tearing at the mask. It clung like leech skin, pulling Sam downward. His feet sunk into the boards, as if the house itself was swallowing him. Amy shrieked, "It's pulling him under!" The walls pulsed, windows shattered inward, glass spraying. From the split floor, dozens of hands reached, small skeletal hands of children long gone. Their whispers rose together. "Stay, stay forever." Thomas roared, pulling with all his strength. "Let him go!" For one terrible second, the mask turned its hollow eyes on him, and it screamed. Thomas clung to Sam, pulling at the mask with both hands. It was slick and icy, fused to his son's face as if grown there. Sam convulsed, his small frame racked with unnatural strength. A guttural laugh spilled from the jagged mouth of the mask, layered with the shrieks of children. Lisa collapsed to her knees, clutching the silver cross high. Her voice cracked as she prayed louder, faster, desperate. The walls shuttered, dust pouring from the ceiling. Masks on the walls split open, screaming, spitting splinters across the room. The house howled like a beast in pain. "Dad!" Sam's true voice broke through for a fleeting moment. "Please!" Thomas hooked his fingers under the edge of the mask. His nails split, his skin tore. The thing hissed, "He is mine." Amy scrambled for the recorder. Static burst out. Then their own voices echoed back, twisted into a chorus. "Bring, gift, replace." The floor split wider. Orange light blazed upward. Shadows of children crawled from below, their eyes hollow, their mouths shown shut. Their hands reached for Sam, whispering, "Join us, stay forever." Thomas roared and swung the axe into the mask itself. The blow sent a shockwave through the house. The mask shrieked, black smoke billowing from its eye holes. Sam's body convulsed violently, then went limp. Lisa dragged him away as Thomas hacked again. The mask cracked, tar spilling from its mouth. With one final swing, it shattered. The shards writhed, then crumbled to ash. The house screamed one last time, then silence. The floor swallowed the ash, and the orange glow blinked out. They stumbled outside. Behind them, the house groaned and collapsed inward. Fire spread through its beams, though no match was struck. By dawn, nothing remained but charred soil and twisted nails. For a week, Sam laughed again, played again. He was himself. But at night, he whispered in his sleep, words too old for a child in a tongue no one knew. Lisa wept quietly, pretending not to hear. One evening, Amy brought Thomas the recorder. "Listen." Static. Then faint giggles. Children's, not Sam's. A voice followed, sing-song, cruel. "You broke her face, but the seeds are planted. Wait for the harvest." Thomas shut it off, trembling. He went to the yard. Along the fence, shoots had sprouted. Not green, but dark. Too straight, too deliberate. The wind carried children's laughter through the empty street. From his bedroom window, Sam watched the garden with glowing eyes. Halloween had never ended.